So I have centered on my screen my surface generated by the points imported. Now to create alignments, I'll go to alignments within Home tab. You click on alignment here and select alignment creation tools. You give your alignment a name, you select the type that your alignment is, and you could give it some description here. Do you want your alignment to start from chain age 0 plus 0, 0, 0? If not, you type where you want it to start here, and you could keep all those defaults. And most especially these alignment label sets, just keep it as no labels because we would add other labels to it much later. So OK, click on OK, and before you start drawing out your alignments, you may have to make some selections here. Number one, you could use tangents, no curves, meaning that you could draw your tangents without curves. Then after you must have finished that exercise, you start introducing your curves based on minimum radius, or perhaps as you're drawing your tangents, you could automatically um, put in between the two tangent curves. So to define the parameters for that curve, you could come to curve and spiral settings here. Perhaps you want every curve here to have a default radius of 200, which you could change much later. So when you hit OK there, you could come to tangents with curves. When you select it, the software would request that you specify your start point of your alignment. So I will start from this point here. As the designer, you should know, you should be able to define where your road would start and where your road is going to based on your decision and to what the surveyor must have brought for you from site. Okay, so I'll start from this point, take it down to this survey point here, IP, and bring it down to this last point. Okay, now between these two streets, I have a tangent here, I have another tangent here. The software has automatically introduced this curve in between the two tangents. And to get some information about these alignments, you could select on it, and you could select on it. Let's say we have closed this alignment creation tools, then you'd like to make some changes to this alignment. So you could select on it, right click, and go to alignment geometry, which is the same thing as what we have here, geometry editor. So when you hit this icon, this comes up, and you could go to alignment grid view. When you hit this icon, or when you click on it, you'd be provided with the information about those alignments. So here you have three elements within the alignments. Number one, it's a line. Number two, it's a curve. And number three, a line. So here's a line, and the curve spans this way. Then you have another line. And the length of each of them, you have some other information about the alignment, like the external distance. You've got the mid ordinates somewhere here, and you have the radius of your curve and the chord length too. This external distance here. So to make some changes to these alignments, you could simply click within the cell and type whatever you want. Say I'd like to reduce this radius from 200 meters to about 150. So you have that, and within the model space, you'd see for yourself how it changes the alignment. Another way you could make changes to this alignment is that after it must have been selected, you could drag with these grips. So when you drag this forward, you're increasing the length of this straight of this line, and the implication is that you're reducing the radius of your curve. Okay, so if I drop it here, I have increased this length and I have reduced the radius of this curve. The same thing is applicable to this other side of the alignment. So here I'm back to something more gentler. Okay, I would like to use a round figure. So I would come to the radius down here and impute 150. So after this process, what we could do is to add some changes to this alignment. To do that, select the alignment again. You do a lot of selection here. I mean, you'd have to select the alignment a lot of times to make changes to it. When you select this alignment, you right click on it and choose alignment, edit alignment labels. This dialog box comes up and you'd like to add some stations. Okay, so with this one you could click on add and this comes up. You want your increment to be 25, so you change this to 25 and okay, so it has been labeled accordingly. The same way you could also add geometry points to your alignments, meaning where curve starts, where it ends, the midpoint of the curve, the beginning of your alignment, the end of your alignment. If you have transition curve, it gives you geometry points of those elements. Okay, so to do that, you right click on this alignment again, you select edit alignment labels and you go for geometry points and add. Just hit OK here. Then you have this and OK. So you have your point of curve here. This is where your curve starts. Then the midpoint of your curve, you have the chainage here, and you have, yes, you have the chainage here. Then down to the end of the curve here, you have the point of tangent. That's where the tangent continues or starts rather. And down to the end of the road, which is the end point here, you have 0 plus 259.21. Now within my screen, you could see that the workspace is it's a little bit not neat, cumbersome. So to do something about it, I could eliminate, or let me say suppress or hide temporarily my contours and perhaps the points too. So to do that, I could come to my created surface here, existing ground level, select, you right click and select surface properties. You come to surface style here, you could use border only, meaning that you'd be left with this green line, which is the border, and you hit OK. So the contours disappear. And to do the same thing with the point group, you come to this point group by the name CSE, you right click on it, you select the properties, and within the point style here, select none. The same thing is applicable to point label style. You select none and OK, you have this. So here I think it's more neat and it makes your work easier for you. Okay, the next thing I would like to talk about briefly is the design check sets, just like I explained during the Zoom session with you. To do that, again, you have to right click on the alignment. Instead of right clicking here, what we could do is that you select this alignment properties here. So when you select this alignment properties, you make sure that this design criteria tab is active, and you change this design speeds to whatever you want, say 60 km per hour, just like we used during the Zoom session. Okay, so that's what we're using as our design speed based on the Nigeria Highway Manual at 4% super elevation rates. Okay, so here we'll be using criteria based design. However, we're not using the already installed AASHTO standard 2011. So I would uncheck this box and keep this checked. Okay, so we would like to define a new design check set for what we intend to set as limits. Okay, to do that, click on this flyout and create new. you're creating a new check set. So the default name comes this way, new alignment check set. I'll give it something like minimum radius, at 60 kmph, and for description you can put anything you like here to describe this name or to describe whatever this design check sets is doing. So within design check sets, what I would like to deal with here, it's a curve, and I would like to set some standards or checks for that curve. Now you have to click on this flyout again and create a new check. Okay, so here the name of the check is minimum bridges close to, okay, wouldn't allow me to do that. Okay, minimum radius is 135 meters at 60 kilometers per hour. Okay, so within this expression, remember this name doesn't really matter, just your nomenclature, what you're convenient with, and the same thing is applicable to this description. Now this expression really needs your attention and your precision. You don't want to make mistakes here. You're not at liberty to do anything you want here, because whichever mistake you make here, it would reflect on your alignment. Okay, now within this expression, what we want to set for it as a limit is that you don't want your radius to go beneath 135 meters radius. So now to do that, you click on this icon here, you go for radius, and you select this equal to, or sorry, greater than or equal to, meaning that you're not even considering something lesser than whatever figure that comes after it. So when you click on this greater or equal to, you type your figure, which is 135, and OK. After doing that, you hit this add key and it comes down here. OK, and OK. Now within the workspace, you notice that there is no warning sign. Okay, that's fine. That's because the current radius is not, it is not below the set standard. Now if we would like to trigger the software to do that, what we could do is that we reduce this curve, the radius of the curve. So if I were to do that, the two steps or two ways to do that, I could use this grip, bring it down a little bit, and you see your warning sign here that when you place your cursor close to it, it shows the message, which is minimum radius is 135 meters at 60 kilometers per hour. Now, like what I said the other time, whatever you put here is it's to what you're comfortable with. Perhaps I could have put minimum radius violated or something there, perhaps something more interactive and more intuitive. Okay, now if I were to change it without using the grip, remember you could do that by using this geometry editor, and you select alignment grid view. You could come to radius here. See, currently it's at 94.968 meters. That's way below 135 meters. Now you notice here that at the same time that it's complaining that you have violated something with the sign, it also complains here. So it says design checks violated. Minimum radius is 135 meters at 60 kilometers per hour. Okay, so to effect that, or to suit the standard, all I have to do here is to click in this cell and type, let's try 135. You see that it clears that warning sign. So we're good to go. So here, I believe that a summary and how you could walk around with the Civil 3D based on our previous lesson. This way I would stop for the alignment, then that of the vertical alignment or the profile would come next, hopefully. Thank you.